A recent Gallup poll has shown that the number of investors who own Bitcoin has tripled since 2018. US investors are showing increasing interest in the digital asset. The number, which sat at 2% back in 2018, has now tripled in 2021, as that number now sits at 6%. The investors included in the poll were investors who owned $10,000 or more worth of stocks, bonds, and/or mutual bonds. Ownership among investors aged 18 to 49 had grown 10 percentage points to 13%, up 10% from just 3% back in 2018. While investors aged 50 and older, only 3% said they owned Bitcoin, compared to 1% from back in 2018, showing the number had tripled in the last 3 years. From 2018 until now, the number of investors who think Bitcoin is too risky to invest has been declining steadily. The poll showed that following the 6% of investors that confirmed they already owned Bitcoin now, another 2% of investors said they would most likely buy into the digital asset in the near future. In comparison to 2018, less than 0.5% of investors had said that they would probably buy the cryptocurrency in the near future. Related reading: SpaceX has Bitcoin on its balance sheet. Elon Musk: the number of investors who said they would never buy Bitcoin had also dropped. The poll in 2018 had shown that 72% of investors said they would never consider buying into Bitcoin, showing absolutely no interest in the digital asset. Now that number has dropped from 72% to 58% who say they would never consider buying into the digital asset. The survey also consisted of a section that had investors who were curious about the digital asset but did not think they would be buying into the asset anytime soon. The percentage of investors in this category was 34%, up from the 26% in 2018 who had said they were intrigued but would not be buying into the asset. Gallup's poll also featured a separation of the information into age groups and sex. Bitcoin ownership was up all across the board. Interest in the digital asset was also up, with investors that were surveyed in comparison to the 2018 data. Related reading: Bitcoin volume continues to see yearly lows as price struggles to recover. The report showed that the percentage of women who currently own Bitcoin in the US is currently 3%, up from 1% in 2018. While in men, the number of investors who own the digital asset in 2021 is now 11%, up tremendously from a mere 3% back in 2018. Age disparities also showed a clear demarcation. Investors who were aged 18 to 49 were more likely to own the digital asset, and investors over 50 years of age were less likely to own. Older investors who had no interest in ever buying or owning the digital asset was 80%, the highest of any group. The sex disparity in investors regarding Bitcoin was the same throughout the board. Male investors were more likely to own or invest in Bitcoin than female investors. Sentiments towards the digital asset have moved more towards the positive in the past 3 years. The percentage of investors who considered the asset very risky in 2018 was 75%. Now that number is down to 60%. 35% of investors said they still consider the asset somewhat risky, while 5% said they did not consider the asset not too risky, or not risky at all.